Unlocking the secrets of the Google Ads algorithm is one of the hardest tasks you can do for your e-commerce brand. But once you nail down exactly how the Google Ads algorithm works, things become so much easier. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact strategy you can implement right now to get the algorithm on your side and make scaling much easier for your e-commerce brand. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why most e-commerce brands either plateau or they stop growing after a while of running Google Ads. It's simply because they don't know how the Google Ads algorithm works, and as a result, they never truly get it on their side. So what you want to understand first and foremost, without us first getting into the actual nitty-gritty details, is how does the Google Ads algorithm actually work and what exactly is it? Now, whenever somebody says the algorithm, essentially what they're referring to is the robot which drives Google Ads forward. It's essentially the robot which you don't see. It works in the background trying to attract the perfect customer, trying to go after the right audience, and take all of these data inputs in to understand your brand on a deeper level. And because it's a robot, it only understands in terms of zeros and ones. It's very gray because it doesn't understand any types of different imagery or creativity. It's super important to train this algorithm the right way so that even though it's so gray, even though it's between 0 and 1 inputs and outputs only, it's still able to go after your perfect customer 9 times out of 10. And the way it does this, the way it actually works, it's fairly simple. It's essentially taking all of the data inputs it has within the Google Ads database, which at this point is billions and billions of dollars worth of data, and it's trying to match that data on the back end with your brand. So essentially what the algorithm does, it doesn't matter if you just started running Google Ads or if you've been running it for 10 years, the Google Ads algorithm is constantly crawling through your website. It's reading the words left to right, top to bottom, every single word on your website to kind of connect it to the perfect customer and to the perfect searches done on the Google Ads platform. So for instance, the way it knows that you are a 3D printer brand selling 3D printers is probably because you mentioned the word or the keyword 3D printer several times within your homepage, within your collection pages, product pages, etc. So it's basically using this to then connect it to the actual searches. This is why it's so important to first and foremost get your landing page right. But once that is done, then it starts entering you in different types of auctions, shopping campaign auctions, or it could be search campaign auctions, or it could be for YouTube listings, whatever the case may be. These auctions are then going to determine where you end up ranking, and the algorithm decides where you essentially are going to be placed, whether it's number 1 or whether you're not even going to be placed in the top 5 or the top 10 listings at all. This is all based on the algorithm, which is why it's so important to satisfy the algorithm. Now, from my experience running Google Ads for over 7 years at this point, generating over $100 million both for my brands as well as client brands under my agency or marketing, what I've come to understand is that the algorithm is really only looking for 3 major things. Number 1, it's looking for a high quality brand that can provide a high quality feel to its users, meaning the people shopping on the google.com platform. And it wants essentially high perceived value because of this. That's why in every single video, I'm always talking about increasing your perceived value, because if your brand doesn't have any types of value that's shown through the pixels on your screen, it's going to be very difficult to get your products to rank anywhere in the top 5 or top 10 listings. Number 2, what the Google Ads algorithm is essentially looking for is it's looking for a brand which showcases products which the users are exactly searching for. What I mean by this is if you are trying to sell oranges on your brand, you don't want to have the keywords related to apples or tangerines on your landing page, because this is not relevant to the searches most people will be doing for the keyword oranges in that situation. So whatever you are selling, it needs to be as closely relevant to it as possible, and Google is very strict about this, because if it notices within the first few auctions, if nobody's interacting with your ad, if nobody's really clicking on it, or there's just no types of search impression share coming through, what's going to happen is over time Google will start to penalize your accounts because you're not following directions, and as a result, this is when your quality score starts to dip. This is when overall lesser number of people even start entering through your website. So it's super important that your brand is very relevant to what the users are searching for. But third and most important kind of thing you must have with your brand in order to satisfy the algorithm and what it's looking for is essentially your ability to spend it. Now, at the end of the day, Google is still a marketing platform. It still makes money from the ad spend you do within your brand. So what this means is your brand needs to have a decent ability to spend. It doesn't have to be hundreds and thousands of dollars a day, but it does need to be decent amounts based on the competition within your niche, based on the overall kind of approach approach you are taking for your brand. Because if you're trying to implement a very complex approach, 10, 20 different campaigns, obviously you're not going to be able to do that with a $5 a day budget. So you need to have the ability to spend, and this is how Google knows if you are serious about ranking or not. Now, I get asked this question often, which is, why does the Google Ads algorithm favor some brands over the other? You might have seen this yourself, where you do a quick search on Google for one of your major keywords, and then you just see the same brand appearing over and over again. Or you do like research maybe several times within a few months period of time, and you see still the same brand continues to rank top. It's not because the Google Ads algorithm is selfish. It's not because it's trying to play games or trying to give one brand more leeway versus another. It's simply because that brand is showing up in a very strong manner in front of the Google Ads algorithm. Keep in mind those three things. Those are just the starting points for the Google Ads algorithm to even consider ranking your brand. After that, it's all about what kind of quality of ads you have. What's your ad strategy? Are your products wanted or not? How good is your product feed? Does it have the right kinds of titles and images and Google Merchant Center reviews and programs, or is it very bland and just basic? All these things is what the Google Ads algorithm is looking for. And when a brand consistently ranks in the top, regardless of how long it's been since they last ranked in the top, what that tells you, or what that should tell you at least, is they are now doing proper A/B testing. They're now consistently revamping the backend, doing proper optimizations to ensure that they're using the new data to become a stronger brand in Google's eyes. Because just because you ranked once at the top 1 or top 5 listings one time doesn't mean you're going to consistently rank there over a period of time. Eventually, if you don't make any optimizations, if you just let things run as they are, eventually the results will plateau and Google will stop trying to give you the highest quality audience because you are not innovating enough in the back end. This is why it's so important to have somebody optimizing properly, to making sure that your campaigns are running. Ideally, if they need to be changed, they're getting done in a decent amount of time. And this is exactly what we do, by the way, for the brands we work with under my agency, which if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the very next level with Google Ads, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But the final kind of thing you want to understand regarding the fundamentals of the algorithm is it is not money hungry anymore. There was a period of time in Google's history where all it wanted was bids and budget. So what it would do is any brand that bid the most or any brand that spent the most money on a daily basis, it would basically rank those brands in the front and everybody else would get thrown all the way in the back. No longer that's the situation, simply because Google Ads has become much more advanced. It already has enough money now. It's no longer a startup. And now all it cares about is the quality of service your brand can provide to its users. So once you kind of start to understand all of these things, that's when you start to truly get the algorithm on your side, because that means now, instead of just focusing on the top surface level campaign strategies or what the user sees just on the product image side or the title side, you are now going in and you're trying to make things a lot better by basically innovating the back end, by optimizing the campaigns, the product feed as needed as well, based on real data. And when you use this real data, that's when you already start getting the algorithm on your side. So that's the first step. Once you have these campaigns running, once you have been scaling for a little bit of time, you need to start optimizing these campaigns based on the inside section of your ads account, because from there, that's when the algorithm starts to notice that you are actually changing things, you're optimizing things based on the new kind of demands and the new data that's coming through via the algorithm. So from there, then it's about improving the campaign strategies, adding more campaign types, and just scaling in general based on the return on ad spend. So that's step number 2 to get the algorithm on your side. Because again, although you satisfy the quality side of the algorithm, you need to now satisfy the money side of the algorithm, where it wants as much money from you as possible. And you do that by doing horizontal scaling, by adding more campaign types, not just relying on one campaign type, but going on to shopping, search, demand gen, YouTube, whatever fits your current goals for your brand. And then from there, also doing this vertical scaling, where you add more budgets, you decrease restrictions as needed to ensure that the brand continues to scale and the revenue continues to grow. Because then this is going to bring us to step 3, which is improving your entire funnel, your entire foundation. So many brand owners don't realize that Google Ads is not just about improving your product feed and then the Google Merchant Center and the ad strategy. It goes far beyond that. And the best thing you can do is use all of this data you're getting now for step number 3, which is improving your landing page experience, improving the back-end funnel, the remarketing, all these things, combining them together to have a much better approach, to have a much more simplistic approach. Because when you use data to improve these things, that's when you exactly know what the user wants to see versus what they don't want to see. Most of our clients actually benefit from doing CRO as step number 3, really doing conversion rate optimization, improving the overall conversion rates, because then that brings us directly to step number 1, which which is again going back to optimization. So it's this little bit of a cycle which you have to consistently go through over and over again throughout the time you're running your Google Ads campaigns, because it's not a one-off thing where you do this once and that's all you need to do to then get the algorithm on your side forever. It's a consistent flowing process because new competitors are entering the market, old ones are leaving the market, there's new updates coming about, there's new demand, there's lowering demand. There's so many things you have to deal with your brand and your niche that it's always going to be a consistent process. That's why I say every 14 to 30 days, maybe even every 2 months, you want to be doing this process consistently to ensure that as the algorithm starts to slip from your brand, as it starts to kind of disregard your brand because now maybe there's other competitors who have come in the market who are better, then when you do this optimization once again from step 1 to step 3, your brand gets in front of Google's eyes once again, and from there it's able to again get a fresh look at everything and start ranking high without having to spend too much money or without having to overbid. But that's a very simplistic approach of getting the algorithms on your side. Again, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go on my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can work together to make that happen.